using the road. I don't know why. We haven't been able to get any answers to that. So it is choppers that are providing the lifeline at the moment, and choppers can only take so much in. And I should say right now that it's just gone 9:10 in the morning. We've been up since the early hours, and none of us here have heard a relief chopper take off to head to the city. We've had several C-130 flights coming in. We've even had a couple of commercial flights coming in, but nothing getting from here, where I am now, into the city. And that is where the relief is needed.
Yeah, that is extremely depressing news, Andrew. Making your way around Tacloban, the city, the past few days, the devastation is clearly enormous. Have you ever, in all your years, seen anything like this?
No, I haven't, Wolf. And the storm devastation is just, it's extraordinary. The images of the tsunami, the Asian tsunami of 2004, are the first and probably the best comparison to make, where entire villages have been shattered, disappeared. I remember that tsunami came ashore in several countries. I was talking to our producer, Tim Schwartz, who was in Banda. He got into Banda Aceh. He was saying that the devastation there, he was saying it is reminiscent of what happened there. Of course, you've got Fukushima as well. So it's on this sort of scale. What we don't know yet, and like Sri Lanka and like Indonesia and like parts of Thailand in the tsunami, we just don't know how widespread, how big a scale this disaster is. This is a coastal strip. It goes on for several hundred kilometres, obviously, on the island. The storm was several hundred kilometres wide. Obviously, at the outer edges, this is going to be absolutely fine. But the closer you get in towards the eye wall, the more vicious those winds and that storm surge is going to become. So we don't know. There is no information. We keep asking people, what are you hearing? No one is hearing anything. You know, I spoke to the president yesterday, and he said, I don't know. We're sending people out, boots on the ground, to find out what's going on. But just getting to those places is going to be a problem. There are roads opening further down the coast, getting people up here, but not enough to really get the information that's so desperately needed quickly. And, well, it is all about time now.
Time is clearly critical right now. Andrew Stevens, hold on for a moment. I want to bring in the man you just mentioned, the storm chaser, who was with you during some of those most terrifying moments. James Reynolds' camera was rolling and showed us how it unfolded. Take a look at this.
Okay, I can feel electricity in the water, guys. My legs are tingling.
James Reynolds is with us now. James, amazing video. We saw you there in that video with your fellow storm chasers, some staff from CNN rescuing people outside your hotel. Take us back to that moment when you realized you had to stop covering what was going on and start helping to save lives.
Wolf, it was a really sickening feeling. The screams, we could hear them even above the roar of the storm, and the smashing of glass instantly knew that someone was in grave danger, and we could see just the desperation of a woman trapped in that hotel room, you know, smashing through the glass windows with her hands to try and get out. And that is when it was really a life and death situation. My colleague Mark, he went out to immediately try and go to their assistance and ended up injuring himself. But luckily, the team, my colleagues and the CNN crew managed to find some flotation devices, a mattress, and extricate everyone from that specific hotel room. And I'm glad to report that in our hotel, no one died. Wolf.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that. You covered some 35 typhoons over your career. You say this is absolutely the most severe and appalling one you've ever been through. Is that right?
Absolutely, Wolf. when we were monitoring the storm before it hit Tacloban, my team and I, we were just absolutely speechless at this, the storm, how strong it was getting. You know, it was at the extreme upper level threshold of a Category 5 if it was in the Atlantic. It was a very, very frightening thing to witness just from a scientific point of view. This will be a case study storm in the future, but obviously right now the focus is on the horrendous aftermath, the desperate people who are suffering beyond imagination in Tacloban right now and for the days to come, Wolf.
Jim, you had to be rescued by military chopper. How desperate was the situation on the ground as you were all preparing to leave?
The situation was starting to, what I would say, escalate. In the immediate aftermath, I did get the sense that some people in a shell-shock state didn't quite get the gravity of how severe it was. But in a situation like this, as time goes on and people become hungrier and more desperate for water, the mood is only going to get more tense. I'm obviously not being on the ground there right now myself, but even just 36 hours, it was a desperate situation. There was no sense of help, no sense of a concerted military presence or any aid getting in. And from what Andrew was saying, it doesn't seem like much has changed in the following few days. We were very fortunate to liaise with a military official who got us on a helicopter to the airport, and from there a military flight out. And that was very miraculous that we managed to do that, and also I think beneficial that we could get our pictures out of what the situation was like on the ground in Tacloban, Wolf.
James Reynolds, thanks very much. Andrew Stevens, thanks to you as well. It doesn't seem possible that things could get worse in Tacloban, but they have in just the last hour or two, as we've been reporting. Another storm is dumping more rain on the region tonight, and it's blocking relief and rescue efforts. It's also keeping Anderson and his team from touching down in Tacloban. Their plane had to turn back and head back towards Manila. Anderson is joining us now from Manila, from the airport there with more. Anderson, I know it was tough trying to get into Tacloban, but at least you're back on the ground in Manila.
Yeah, it was a really dicey situation as we were actually very close to Tacloban on a plane, and then got the word that we had to turn back because of the approaching storm. We're told there may be a little bit of a break in the weather. We may try to do it again to try to get in there really before the worst of the storm, which is that we anticipate later tonight. It is already Tuesday here, but obviously any difficulty for planes to land in Tacloban, that has serious repercussions, serious consequences for all those people on the ground who are just desperate for food and water and shelter. I want to bring in Chad Myers at CNN Severe Weather Center just to get a sense of where this approaching storm is and how bad it's going to be for the people here. Chad, what's the latest on it?
You know, Anderson, I think this is all over in about 6 hours. The back edge of the storm right about here right now as it's passing on by. The problem that you had with your airplane was that you got into instrument flight rules. There are no instruments on the ground to send signals up to the airplane. So all of a sudden, an MVFR, Visual Flight Rules Day, turned into an IFR day, and you couldn't land because the instruments just aren't going to work because there's nothing transponding back up to your airplane. You didn't have to go very far. A couple hundred miles at most, but that's the problem. When you got this cloud mass coming into your area, it covered up the airport, got the ceilings too low, and they couldn't land for you here. I do expect, though, probably in the next 4 or 5 hours, this is all over. I know we've talked about approaching storm, but approaching storm means leaving storm here in the next 12 hours. It'll be gone by tomorrow morning, and that's the good news. It'll still rain for a while, and you know, it doesn't matter how much or how little rain. If you're trying to recover your life without a roof over your head, without fresh water to drink, without any power, any type of rain, any type of wind, is just a nightmare.
And you know, Chad, one of the things that was a blessing in this typhoon is the lack, but it really was the storm surge, which people did not expect, which has caused so much of this damage, right?
Absolutely. You know, we had storm surges. I know that we probably were in the 16 to 20 foot storm surge range. And on the westernmost area of the the easternmost island of the Philippines, I absolutely can tell there was a 30-foot surge that ran completely over that island. A lot like what happened in Hurricane Rita down near Galveston, down near Houston, and it just washed completely over the island, took everything with it, all the homes. And you know, we're showing Tacloban, and I understand this is an urbanized city. 220,000 people live in this city. There are another couple 100,000 that live in villages that got the same type of wind, the same type of water, the same type of surge. We haven't heard anything from them. We can't even get there. There are hundreds of thousands of people, even in worse shape than the city we're showing. But we're there because that's where we can get. This is a story that will last for weeks, if not months. The survival, the recovery will take years, if not decades.
And I've been getting a lot of tweets from viewers around the world saying, my relative is in this small place, in another small town, not in Tacloban, where there has been the focus, where journalists have been able to get and relief workers. But as you said, Chad, there are a lot of small outlying areas that have not been visited yet, and there's a lot of concern about the condition of the people in those areas. A lot, frankly, we still do not know. The bottom line is we don't know how many people have been killed by this typhoon. We simply do not have accurate numbers on that. We have a lot more to cover all throughout this hour of our live coverage from here in the Philippines. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the international relief effort and the efforts of groups like the Red Cross, the difficulty they are having just even getting vehicles, getting trucks to cities like Tacloban. We'll be right back.
Anderson Cooper 360, brought to you by Ameriprise Financial. We've helped millions of Americans retire on their terms. Find out more at Ameriprise.com.